Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This session, the last session of the day, is called Building Community During E-Learning, and we are focusing on the secondary level. So if you could, sorry, there seems to be some technical difficulties. There we go. So if you could, please, in the chat, like most of you have done this, so if you haven't yet, please go ahead and introduce yourself, write your name and your school, so I appreciate that. And if you have not yet done that, we would love to have you here with us. I see a lot of you guys. There's lots and lots of you here, so we're so excited. And we'll begin in just a moment. Okay, thank you all. So today is the most unique day, I think, of the year and probably of our entire careers. So I just wanted to take a little bit of a moment and just check in with you all. How was the first day of school? So if you want to put your number response in the chat, please be honest. So 1, exhausted. 2 says it's glorious. 3, stay strong, the weekend is coming. And 4, this is fine. I see a lot of 1s. I know, I see a lot of 1s. It's been quite a day, right? Yes. 4. Oh, we have some 4s. Anyone a 2? No, there's a 3. All right, I see. Yep, 4s and 1s, right? So 4s and 1s. So, I just want to take a moment and just really tell you all that I appreciate everything that's gone on today. I know that it has not been the probably the easiest day, but we do appreciate you being there for your students. That's what really matters, is at least you showed up and you were that smiling face for them. So our objectives today is we are going to talk about the importance of community. So many of us who have been, in teaching for a while, we know what community means and why it's so important for us to really focus on relationships. But we're now in this new setting where we're starting virtually. Last March, for those of you who are teaching last March, we had already established those relationships. But now we have to build brand new ones with students that we've maybe never even met before, maybe classes we've never taught before. So we're going to really focus on ideas and activities to help us build that community, not just in the beginning of the year, but throughout the entire year. So to take a few moments and just to take a breath, and let's remind ourselves why it matters so much to focus on community and why it has to be a natural part of our class. So everyone needs a community, right? We are social beings. Learning is social. Humans are social. And we need that sense of belonging to be able to thrive. And so when we have that sense of belonging, we feel a part of that community. We feel valued and we feel cared about. And when our students feel valued and cared about, then they believe that they have something to offer to the community, which would be our classroom and the world. So they start in our classroom, right, as a microcosm of the world, they start to realize that what they say matters and what they think matters. And it's important that we give them that opportunity to practice that so that when they go and they're in the larger community and they're in the world, they know that they have a voice and they matter. When their voice matters, then what's the benefit? They invest in their learning. They have a sense of ownership. They're not just these passive people in a classroom, but they are active members. We are all together building something amazing, and we're learning from each other, and we're sharing and we're growing. And so with all that sharing and that growing then leads us to this huge community of learners. And we create this circle, this trust, right? Like the circle of trust. And what happens? Our collaboration increases. We want our team to do the best that it can do. We want, to excel. And with those feelings, we get the safety that our team has our back and we trust them. And, we have students who need to feel secure. Learning can be scary. We are asking students to take academic risks. And that means things like raising their hand or, being a group leader or trying to share an answer that maybe isn't right. And until we can build that capacity for failures and bring in that stability, those academic risks cannot be taken. And without that, right, students aren't growing and learning. In the chat, if you guys could just share briefly, what are some things that you do to build community? Think about the beginning of the year. What did you do today? Just share briefly. We would love to hear from all of you. Someone had asked, just while you guys are typing, where do we get the slides? The slides will be available after this presentation in the Canvas course. Oh, yeah. Circles. So Julie had said circles, which, are, oops, I'm so sorry. Wrong button, I'm sorry. So someone had said circles, which I think is a really great way. So, community circles, getting kids to just talk, asking kids to share one thing about them. The beloved icebreaker questions, yes. Showing common interests. So, those kinds of interest surveys, all that stuff we'll talk about today. So as we think about what we did today, and as we think about what we're going to continue to do this week, I want to leave you with this quote that I found that I think sums it up so nicely. It's from Amy McKinney at the Unique Classroom. And she says, and I'm going to read it in the whole entirety, is that when we take the time to get to know our students on a personal level, we are culturally responsive and we let them know that we genuinely care about them. This communicates our belief that our students have something valuable to offer, which in turn allows them to believe it too. So I want this to be kind of the lens that we look through all of this presentation and the rest of our days, keeping this in the forefront of our mind, that is what we're striving for as teachers, is that our students understand that they do have something to offer the world. So as you guys, a lot of you guys are sharing some ideas, but we're going to kind of focus our time now and thinking about, okay, so all of these wonderful things that we're used to doing in the classroom, right? Where we have these like who's in the circle and people step in, or we do four corners, or we do these icebreakers, or we just provide time to kind of giggle and laugh and meet each other and chit chat. We can't do that in a virtual realm the same way. So we're going to focus on ways that we can transform the kind of more typical activities, but do them in a synchronous and an asynchronous fashion. So you'll see that as we go through these slides, I have them divided up where one is synchronous and one is asynchronous, because again, we can't expect our students to be together live all the time, but we still have to get to know them. And we also have to respect where our students are coming from. Students should not be, asked to be in a live meet that might be difficult for them. And so they need to do it on their own time. So teachers, we need to provide that space for both kinds of opportunities and both kinds of learning. So I've kind of put some things side by side. And the first thing I always love to do with my students is an interest survey. So I was a world language teacher, and bringing in, images into the classroom, or when we do storytelling, if it's not relevant or if it's not about something that's going on in their world right now, they're not interested. So finding out like what music are they listening to, or what's a cool, like the shoes to have, or what's the hit new thing. So I love those interest activities. So to do that in a synchronous fashion, just like we did it with this, you could do something with a chat in the Google Meet. You could show an image and have them put the number of their response. In a Google form, you could do the same thing, have them respond to a prompt, or perhaps give answers like, what is the best song right now? And then you can show them the answers that students are giving on the teacher side or on the editor side of that Google form. Another great live one would be Mentimeter. That is super fun. You can make word clouds and do polls with Mentimeter. So that is live and is going to populate as the students change their answers. Another fun thing that you could do synchronous would be quadrant activities, or this idea of shared experience. So I know some people on the internet are posting these things saying to have students turn on their cameras or turn off their cameras, but I would strongly encourage you to not do it with cameras. Some students do not want to show their home, much like some teachers don't want to show their home either. So we cannot require that students turn their cameras on. We need to have conversations with them. If there's a reason why, maybe we should try and find out versus making it a requirement or tied to points. So instead of doing that with your camera, and instead of doing that in the Meet, what you can do is set up an activity with Pear Deck or with Google Slides and Jamboard to make an interactive activity and slideshow for your students. So I wanted to show you how this would work, because everyone knows Pear Deck, but you can do this in Google Slides and you can do this in Jamboard. And Jamboard is my new favorite application right now. So not everyone could get on this. But if you could please go to tinyurl.com/cow-ham-quad. It is this little tiny URL at the bottom, the very first one under try it out. And so if you could do that, tinyurl.com/cow-ham-quad, you're going to end up here. And so what I want to show you, some of you are already there. Thank you again. It is tinyurl.com/cow-ham-quad. Okay. So this would be something that you would do with your students. Right now we have 27 people on there, so you all don't have to jump on. But if you have your students, right, they could all jump on here, and you, just like I'm doing, am sharing the screen. And so what you would do here is you would give them a question. So now let me just show you, there we go. There is that situation. You can make this as a picture in the background so that people don't end up clicking and moving that. I did not do that. So you can create this image in a separate slide and then insert it as the background on here. So what you would do if this was a Google slide is you would give all of your students a name and then say, how are you feeling? So if 12 of you could grab one of those squares and just drag it on how you're feeling today. So you would click it. Thank you, Lynn. And drag it on how you're feeling. Thank you, Rose. Yeah, just click it and drag it, and you can watch it in real time. So if you click it and you just can move, there you go. So now I see, whoever it was on that slide. Okay, so the next thing, you don't have to even ask them how they're doing today. You can ask them things like, okay, you just won the lottery, so where are you going to travel? Find out a little bit more than just how they're feeling. Someone who prefers the beach versus the mountains, it kind of maybe says a few things about their personality. So as you guys can see on this Google slide, right, that's the idea, that you put their names in the gray space. We had some people who were accidentally moving this around. So another solution, I told you that you could make this into an image on the background, is you could also, and those of you who are on the Google slide, I'm going to jump off for a second, so go ahead and leave. You can also do it on a Jamboard. And so Jamboard is just a little bit simpler of a interface. So there's not as much to do. So those of you who want to jump on this one, if you could, it is tiny URL and it's / cow ham jam. Megan Damerl just said that you could do would you rather questions. Yes. Would you rather are so hilarious. I did this with my students about, I don't know, maybe once a month or so, because it is just the funniest thing. You can do, serious ones, or you could do some kind of, ones that make them laugh. But that is the URL. So if you want to jump on to the Jamboard, you can see that now my students are telling me where they want to travel. But what's interesting is that they cannot touch anything. They can't move anything except for the name cards. So they could enter their name. You would probably pre-populate this and create a template. And then on Jamboard, which is just so much fun, you can see where people are. So I see that my whole class is on this first slide. No one's on that other slide yet. So I can say, well, thank you for telling me, everyone, where you where you would rather travel. So they would leave it all here, right? And if they messed up, they could just click over here and they could create their own sticky note and write their name on it. So I could say, Tara, and I'm going to throw that on there and move my sticky card around. So I can move through and now I can say, all right, let's do the same one. And so it's the exact same activity and your kids are able to edit on this, but it is a super fun thing. Now this works really well in Pear Deck, but if you are not a fan of Pear Deck, then you can use all the Google Suite. Okay, so we're gonna jump off there. Now, we just talked about, interest surveys with some kind of, during the chat feature, or even something like a draggable interactive activity to kind of get them moving versus just sitting and watching. But let's say that you want to do this on their own time. And so if you want to do this on your own time, doing an interest survey with a Google form or a Google Doc would be a very valuable resource for you. And so asking them those questions to fill in the blank, multiple choice, tell me what you think. Now, if you're doing it as a Google Doc, please make a template. And then when you add it to Google Classroom, click make a copy for each student. And so that means that each student will get their own copy. You don't have to worry about them pressing make a copy and edit their drive, but that is going to be the best feature. They can type on there and then submit it to you, and it's all housed within one document, and they know exactly, or you know exactly where each one is. Another fun thing that they could do on their own, instead of doing kind of a shared experience or a quadrant activity, would be to have them do a short video of one of my favorite platforms is Flipgrid. If any of you guys have ever talked to me before, you know that I am a huge Flipgrid fan. But Flipgrid is just constantly improving itself, and there are some really cool new features. There are some whiteboard features, they have filters, and students don't have to turn their camera on if they are uncomfortable. I've had lots of students who did not want their face to be shown, and we just worked around it. So have them tell them about you. Have them respond to questions, and then they could respond to their classmate, because they don't know each other either. And so when we have these ability or these activities that allow the students to engage, they're learning about each other as well. We don't have those times where you can put them in tables anymore. They can't be in tables anymore. So, allowing them this time to get to know each other. You also can use this to your advantage. So if you're making Flipgrid videos and you find out that there's a bunch of kids who are amazing at drawing, or maybe there's a bunch of kids who all like the same thing, I kind of like joke around that teachers are like matchmakers. So, you put those kids in groups, so maybe they become like friends, or they find some sense of community and they feel safe. So that would be another fun or another great resource for you as a teacher, beyond just data. Like, this is personality data. There is a question about how do we moderate responses on platforms like Flipgrid. Flipgrid was made by teachers for teachers. There have switches and toggles when you set up your Flipgrid, and that will allow you to check the response before it gets posted. So if you are moderating them, then, which means no one can see them until you release them, then there will be that delay. But you also can turn off student-to-student responses. So if you don't want your students to communicate with each other but just speak outward, there is that one-way communication as well. Yes, Megan said 2 truths and a lie. I love this game on Flipgrid. It's so much fun because we all know that in class, right, this 2 truths and a lie can sometimes it could go on forever. So what's nice about Flipgrid is these students could choose, like only a couple people that they want to listen to and respond to. You can require the whole class, but you can really tailor that to what the needs are of your students. If this is something that you routinely do, you might want to feature 1 or 2 students at a time and give everybody a chance to be kind of highlighted and focused on. So those are, we're going to move on to some more. These, I can't take credit for these ideas. So this idea of Zoom out was brought to me via Matt Miller, and it was brought to him through Deborah Holman. But I thought that this one was kind of more of a quieter activity, and it helps students with this, abstract thinking and critical thinking. So you start with an image, and if it were me, because I know that with with some text stuff, right, you can get a little bit jumbled up. You may go too fast. If it were me, I would start with a very zoomed in image and take a screenshot and put that on a Google slide. And then I would keep zooming out and make that be on each slide so that I'm going through those slides together versus trying to zoom out of the picture, because I know I would click something and then the kids would see what it is. But basically what you do is you start real small, then you zoom out and you ask students to guess what it is. And it's kind of, it's an enlightening experience, but it's also helping them work as a group and critically think and use their abstract reasoning to kind of figure out, what is this object? Someone had said each one of these platforms needs its own PD. Yes, trust me. We are going to be continuously updating all of the PD throughout the year, so this is not the only time that you'll be getting it. We will be offering lots more on each of these. Another thing that you could do along the lines of the zoom out is this Padlet. We can use Padlet. So allow students to kind of joke and laugh and share some of those things. If you go here to, I'm so sorry, it's tinyurl.com/Cowham Padlet. So I'll put that in the chat right now. So go ahead and let's see if that's going to let me. There we go. Okay. So the other thing that you can do, right, is allow students to be funny, right? And I have this Padlet up, and it says a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so you would give them some sort of prompt, right? So the prompt is add a GIF or add a meme or add an image, and then tell your students to like each other. So here, you guys can jump on that by going to tinyurl.com, and you can add your own. So if you come over here to this button, right here it says plus, and you could say, how are you feeling today, right? So how are you feeling? It's the first day of school. Maybe you might say tired, and then you could just leave it like that. You can search for images. You can take a picture with your camera, that kind of thing. Oh, let's see. Okay, so we'll go ahead, and students can really personalize this. So you'll watch these. If anyone wants to add anything, you can watch this in live time populate. So if you go to tinyurl.com, Callum Padlet, okay, we'll move on from that one. So that one will be there. So if you want to go back on and just kind of throw something funny, maybe something that you saw over the weekend that made you laugh, you know, those are kind of those good little check-in activities. And they're all housed right there. And I love Padlet. It makes it super easy for everyone to kind of work all at the same time. Oh, something deleted. Oh, yes. There you go, guys. Thank you all. Wow, this one's so funny. Yes. So what I did on this is I made it all anonymous. So no one knows who's posting, but you don't have to do that. You can set your parameters where if you want your students to know who posted, then you can do that. Yes, I know. It is a lot. So these are great. Thank you all for sharing, right? But you guys can jump back on here anytime, and you can now communicate. Like if, you know, you agree with this one, right? You're going to like that. And this one, yes, I'm feeling that one today too. Okay. So the other side of that, right, is to kind of get to know students and the funny side of them, the creative side of them, not just what do they do when you ask them to do work. So this unboxing video, right? I have a 5-year-old, and for some reason, she's really attracted to these YouTube videos of kids playing with toys or unwrapping blind bags. Like, I don't understand, but I guess it's a thing. Let your kids do it. So instead of them being on the camera, right, they can focus on an object. So they can find any box. They could find a bag. I mean, it could be anything. Maybe you have them put things in there like that could be personal. You could ask about their feelings. I mean, we're going through a very difficult time right now, very difficult time. And so some kids need a platform to express what they're feeling. You could ask them things like, find 5 objects that start with the first letter of your name. You know, it doesn't have to necessarily be them. So they can find objects and then they unbox them. They can make that on Flipgrid. Again, Flipgrid is amazing. Adobe Spark is super easy to use. Powtoon, they can do Screencastify. Screencastify is available for students on their Chromebook. They just have to go in and get the extension from the web store. It's not a forced install. So, you know, you could choose to have students watch these as a group, you know, ask permission if they want to share those. But they would make that on their own time, and then you could have them be premiered, you know, in the class, and students could get to know each other. Another one with that would be kind of like an all about me poster. So sometimes we had, you know, students present, you know, they'd go and make a poster, or they would, you know, somehow do a collage, or they fill out a big form. This is like all about me. So instead of doing that on paper, what we're going to do then is we're going to ask them to create a poster or an all about me on a Google slide. It could be a Google drawing. It could be a fake social media profile where you kind of find the template and then they can add in their information. But the great thing about Google Slides and with Google Drawings is that you can change that page size. If you go into page setup in your file menu, you can adjust that page size to be whatever it is that, you know, you would like it to be. And could teach them how to insert images within the Google Slides. So for example, if I was going to have them work on this and make a poster, and I click on insert and I click here to image, when I search from the web within this app, then I know that I am not violating copyright laws. These are all searchable. So they could search for anything. I mean, if they like dogs, then they could search for a dog, and then all of these images are free for us to use. There are other really great sites out there. There's Unsplash, there is Flickr, there's Pixabay. And since kids are on their home networks and they're not on school networks, not all of these are blocked. I know that Pixabay was blocked last year, so that was kind of problematic for some people who were doing some projects that needed to have some high quality images. So now students are on their own network, right? So you don't have to worry about things being blocked. So I know that there was a lot here, and this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what we could be doing to build community. But really what I want to say is that, you know, whatever you do, make it safe, make it enjoyable, and make it interesting. And I heard this quote during the Indiana Connected Educators Conference this summer, and I had never heard it before. Many of you probably have, but the quote is, "If you observe your students, they will teach you how to teach them." And I think that if we go forward again with the previous quote that we had and the quote here, you know, building community, building relationships, seeing the humor that our students have, or their talents or their interests, we'll know better how to form our lessons and how to manipulate our curriculum to best meet the needs of those students. So it's much more than just, hey, we're a group. You know, we also need to make sure that we're thinking about who they are as people and who they are as learners. So again, with that said, community doesn't stop at the first week of school. And we all know this. You know, we love icebreakers. There's hundreds and hundreds of icebreakers. I'm the kind of person that moans and groans when we have to do an icebreaker, but why do we have those? Because we know, right, that it's so important to make connections. And so we continuously have students do group work, right? We have these moments where maybe something happens and we all giggle and laugh, or students might ask another one a question, you know, I don't understand. Can you help me? But we don't have that in the virtual space. And so as these things grow and nurture throughout the year in a natural way, in the virtual environment, we have to be very, very purposeful. So some of the things that you know about, but maybe you haven't thought about bringing into the remote classroom, would be just holding a daily quick meeting. You know, I know at the elementary, we're all secondary, but I know at the elementary school, the morning meeting is a crucial part of their day. Bring that into your classroom, right? Brain science and research shows us that that moment, even just 5 minutes of connectedness, is going to just even change the way that our brains work and the way that we feel about ourselves and about others. If you have a content area that has, you know, contact hours and you have a ton of curriculum, I understand. Maybe have a weekly meeting, right? So instead of giving 5 minutes every day, maybe give 10, 15 minutes at the end of the week. Do a recap, you know, ask them questions. How was this week for you? Was it too much? You know, like what do we need to do next week? What was your favorite thing? You know, get them involved. I'm a big, huge fan of the 3-2-1 reflection because it takes everything and puts a positive spin on it. So, you know, we have a tendency as humans to be kind of hard on ourselves. So when you say, here are the things I'm proud of, and here's what I want to improve, and here's one piece of advice I would give myself or someone else, we're helping them live in that growth mindset. So the other thing is with virtual learning, we have to really, really provide opportunities for students to collaborate and work in small groups. How do we do this? So I know that there are some technology platforms and improvements coming out with like breakout rooms, but right now let's not focus on that. Let's focus on what we have right now. So what we have right now is the ability to manipulate our curriculum and our time with our students, where maybe we allow group work in small groups with you moderating, and it happens to be like Monday you work with this set of 5 or 10 kids, and then the next one you work with 5 or 10 kids, while the other kids are doing that asynchronous self-paced work. because that way is so much more easier to manage, right? We all know we've been in these huge Google Meets, like we can't even have this be an interaction beyond chat because there's so many of us. So when you have those smaller groups, right, kids and your students are going to feel more comfortable talking. It's going to be easier to manage, and you're going to be able to really differentiate and help support those students because you're going to know right away if they're not getting something. The other thing throughout the year that I would encourage you all to do, especially as we are virtually learning, is please provide choice and voice. You know, we need to think about that because in our classrooms, there are lots of times that we can have those opportunities, but you know, we don't necessarily know how to translate that into all of our remote teaching. So things that will offer options for the various learning styles, the various interests that our students have, multiple platforms. You know, sometimes our kids know things that better platforms to use than we do. But then maybe providing a little bit of time for a Genius Hour, a passion project, preferably maybe off the screen. Maybe assign them 20 minutes to work on that Genius Hour, but you know, a 20-minute presentation period, or maybe say has to be a service that you provide and not a product, but maybe they each showcase what they've been working on off screen, away, but you've provided that time to do that. Other things that you can do would be a goal setting activity. A lot of our students, again, are, you know, it's a hard time that we are in right now. And goal setting and focusing on the future and focusing on, you know, coming and what we need to do within ourselves to move ourselves forward might be beneficial to our students. And I will say too, that as you want to think about how your students are connecting and how your students are connecting with you, there are some things that are behind the scenes, right? So your presence as a teacher greatly matters. And, you know, sometimes I think that we as teachers, we get so hung up on the curriculum and teaching that we forget that who we are brings a whole nother dynamic to the classroom. And so Michelle Eaton said it best, you know, your presence truly affects student learning, academic integrity, and social emotional learning. They need to see you. They need to hear your voice. You need to be present, whether that be live or whether that be in a video, or you could take a picture of your face. You know, people love the Bitmoji, but there is a link right there that says make a you-moji where it's your face. Let them see your face. Let them see you have a rough video. Let them laugh with you. But when you have your presence in a virtual environment, it is actually shown that it reduces the academic integrity issues that may come up. If you're on those Google Docs, right, and you're looking at them and you have made a copy, so as soon as the student opens it, you're having viewing rights. If you are giving them feedback and writing comments and you are, you know, just kind of sending them announcements and being there. Again, that doesn't have to be live on the screen all the time, but your presence can be felt those ways. They're going to feel that, and their academic integrity will be affected by that. So it's just like proximity, right? So we believe strongly in the zone of proximity of being close to students. Do that virtually through the written word or through videos or through just a picture of your face. Another fun thing is like, you know, if you don't have necessarily the times for these weekly or daily meetings, you know, you always could do a podcast or a vlog. And I know I'm nervous about those things, but you could do a super quick one, 5 minutes. Anchor is a great, easy, simple interface for that kind of thing. And you can just say, hey, here's what we did. And especially if your students are going through something and they have to tap out of class for a little bit, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. They can catch up with that 5-minute podcast and remind themselves, okay, that's what I need to go do. Or your parents who are, you know, trying to help their students who may not get home until the evening. that podcast, they can listen to that on the drive home and come and walk in the door and know exactly what like their student should have gotten done that day or needs help with, or they can ask them about. Those are these little things that I know it might take time, but as we start to make them habit, they take less and less time. I know we're kind of running short on time, but I just want to really stress the fact that, throughout the year, doing all these things for your students, but then bringing them in as well, right? So this is our classroom, is a motto that I think we should all live by. Ask your students, right? What do you think of that? Was that okay? I mean, you know that you're going to get every answer under the sun, but if you are asking them, do you think we need to revisit that? What happens is after a while, they start to give you their real opinion. And so it's really funny. I remember when I asked my students, because I worked with world language, so there's a lot of issues with comprehension. And I said, guys, do we need to do like another activity? Should we do another reading? Should we do some more work with vocab? They would literally say, yes, please, we need it. Like, no, miss, we're good. We just messed up. We don't need any more. And that would help me gauge, my learning. So, you can still do that in a virtual classroom. I just have a few final thoughts for you all, and then I will gladly stay on for questions. But, really, we just need to be purposeful. What we're encountering this school year is unique, but it's not undoable. It's not like that, boulder up the mountain. We just need to think about what we do with purpose and intention more than we have before in the past. And we need to reach out to our community, co-plan, build on the strengths of your teammates. If you're part of a PLC or you have like a class that you teach, maybe like an English class that 3 other teachers teach, rely on each other, ask for help, ask them what they're doing, reach out. You need a community too. You have been in your home and we've all been social distancing. So, it's time to say, let's build this together and let's build on each other's strengths. This presentation will be available. I do have links to everything that I referenced, and there is a really great TED Talk. If you haven't watched Rita Pearson's TED Talk, please go watch it. And there's some really good articles for you to read. But at this time, I will gladly open it up to questions. If you do need to leave, I just want to say thank you again for coming. Please feel free to leave. This will be available on YouTube, and the slides will be available on Canvas. So if there's any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. Oh, you're welcome, everybody. I'm so glad that you guys could come. I know it was such a long day. We got to get our boat legs about us again, right? We got to get those muscles warmed up. Elizabeth Drank asked, is Anchor the name of the podcast link? Yes. It is super, super, super easy. We do have some teachers in the district who are podcast masters. You can always reach out to them. Most of them are very kind. I really thought Anchor was, for beginners, a really great and easy platform. There's tons more out there. Let's see if there's any more comments. Oh, sorry, I didn't even, thank you. I appreciate that. Someone had asked about where I got my slides from. I love, let me go over here, to use templates. And so I always go to, there's Slides Go, Slides Carnival, and Slides Mania. They just ask that you, keep these slides on there for attribution, but they have some really cool ones. If you do digital notebooks, or if you want a digital lesson plan, or if you were in the Anchor Doc session and you want to start creating Anchor Docs, there are some amazing pre-built slides that look like notebooks, and then you can just kind of insert your link. So I think Slides Go has a few more of them than the other ones, but they all have them, and they're really incredible. Let's see what else. Okay, so it looks like there's no more questions. I may have missed some earlier. Let me see. Sorry, I'm going through some of these. If there's any questions that you're dying to ask, please feel free to put those in the chat. Now, let's see. I may have missed them. Oh, okay. Someone had asked if you need to show anything. So you don't need to. There is not a survey, but in the Canvas course, it will show that you enrolled in the Canvas course. So we will be going through and making sure that all of that is taken care of. Someone had asked, what's the best way for students to import a photo of themselves onto their Chromebook? So thank you for asking that. Your students have capabilities to record with their camera on their Chromebook, and they have audio capabilities and video capabilities. So what your student can do is, if they want to take a picture of themselves, they need to use their camera, and it is like down in the launcher. If you want them to record, then you will allow, I would have them use probably Screencastify. Now, we unfortunately no longer have the unlimited. It's 5 minutes, and students have, I believe, the 5 minutes as well. But I know that doesn't seem like a lot. I've been cut off too, because I'm a talker. I talk way too much. Our brains can't really handle much more than that 5 minute chunk, because what happens is then it's too hard to go back. And if we miss something, we spend more time like looking for what we missed. But if we have it within a 5 minute section and we break it into modules, then we can go back and re-listen and find those little pieces that we may have missed. So you could just do a bunch of little 5 minute videos, and then your students could also do another bunch of 5 minute videos as well. Yes, Loom is another good one. I don't know if it works for students. I do know that it works for teachers, and it has a really interesting look. If you haven't tried Loom, try it out. It's kind of cool. Again, thank you guys all. We're going to end the broadcast in just a little bit. Oh, someone had said thank you. There is a Screencastify special that's $29 per year. I'm a freebie person. The joke is like that, what, free 99? I think that's what Matt Miller says. I like free 99. So that's what I do. It's always the free stuff. All right. Well, thank you guys again. I hope you have a wonderful next day, and join us for some more great PD sessions.